There's a way to seize the day. There's a place for the precious people.
Hi guys, Tania Rose here, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about self-improvement. Now, why would a person want to go to the effort and hassle of making some kind of self-improvements? And what are self-improvements anyway? You know, we hear a lot on social media about, doing things better, different, trying new things, being mindful, being nurturing, being more caring, trying to face our fears, facing different aspects of ourselves, maybe flaws in our personality and things. It just sounds like so much hard work and effort. Why would a person want to go through all that? I mean, after all, aren't we just who we are? And how much of the world can we actually change? Life happens, stuff happens. Can I really control any of it? Well, it's a really good question. But imagine for a moment that you were able to change your experiences in your life. Yeah, you might not be able to change what happens to you, but imagine if you could change how you experience life, regardless of whether it's good or it's bad or how you are or who you are. There are a lot of factors that go into making us who we are. Our upbringing, for example, the way we were brought up, the attitudes of the people around us, the behaviours that we learned. Some of them we may have experienced ourselves out of our own experiences, but a lot of things when we're young, particularly under the age of 6, we actually learn that behaviour. We learn to react to certain things in a certain way based on the people around us. So if you've had a bit of a tough time when you were young in your family life, perhaps you didn't even have a family life, perhaps you were sort of moved around and things, that can really influence the way we are. Another really key factor is the environment that we find ourselves in. So obviously life is very different in different parts of the world and for different people, sometimes even in your own city. So environmental factors can be things like how well off you were. Were you poor? Were you educated? Did you have access to healthcare? Things like that. So the things that really affect your experience in the physical world. Environments are very influential in the same way that upbringing is. Another key factor is the experiences we have. So those experiences might be things that were events that happened, possibly good events, perhaps some tragic events, the kind of things that happen to us, life stuff. The stuff that we can't control. You know, maybe a house burnt down. Maybe you found yourself in a very, very toxic environment in your family, relationships. Maybe you felt like that you couldn't really be grounded because you were moving around a lot. Those kind of things all go into our experiences, and the way we react to those things when we're experiencing them influences then similar things that happen to us. Maybe not the same kind of things that happen to us later on. Maybe we hopefully won't have to experience another tragedy. But there may be something similar about a situation that kind of triggers some kind of response, reaction that we've had in the past. Another key factor is the knowledge and the wisdom that we've gained from our experiences. So, for example, when you're little and you touch say a heater or some kind of hot thing and you learn that don't touch that, it hurts, that's very painful when I touch that, it's hot. We learn then to be mindful of those things. And experiences like that and the wisdom and knowledge that we gain can come from everything that we experience in life. So we build up this kind of bag of rules, if you like, don't touch hot things, be mindful of these things. Don't jump downstairs. You could fall and hurt yourself. Don't walk on icy ground because you could find yourself sliding along and doing yourself an injury. So there's all kinds of things, obviously, in the emotional world too. And that can really affect how we deal with things. The rules that we have built up in our own heads when we go through life and we have other experiences. So, imagine for a second that though we are wired with those kind of things, those kind of reactions to things based on our upbringing, the environment that we've had and the experiences that we've had, the wisdom that we've gained as well, or the knowledge base that we've created. Imagine for a second that even though we are like that, we can actually choose how we deal with things in the future. Because really, we can. We can make a choice to change the way we experience the world. I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is what happens as an automatic thing. Touch something hot, the reaction is to pull away. Yeah, you find yourself in a situation, maybe in a confrontation where, because of your experiences in the past, because of your background and who you are, you may find that you suddenly close up. You don't want to have a confrontation, or you walk away, or you blow up. You let loose, and all this anger and things comes out. Those kind of things are reactions. They're generally things that we just don't even think about. It just happens. Something happens in our life, and we react in a certain way. There is the other side of it, which is a response. Now, a response is the kind of thing that you actually choose. So, for example, let's say a confrontation happens. Someone comes into the room. You may know in yourself that you're the kind of person to really blow up and get really fiery if confronted, if accused of something that perhaps you didn't do. So we can either go with our reaction, our natural reaction, or we can take a moment, if we're aware of that we would react that way, if we're aware of it, and then we choose to have a different response. Can you imagine the potential change in that situation, the potential change in outcome? We can influence things by choosing to respond instead of reacting. Now, how do we go about doing that? Well, we have to get to know ourselves. And I mean, honestly get to know ourselves. If we do want to make improvements in our lives, which when we start improving the self, all manner of things can happen. Relationships can improve. Your relationships not just with loved ones, but perhaps with colleagues, which can lead to different job opportunities. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that can go on that we can actually influence, even though we can't actually change what happens necessarily to us. We can change the way we experience our life. So if we're going to be honest about ourselves and the kind of reactions that we have in life, then we can start making changes and start working out how we feel we should best respond to a situation. It's not easy. It's a challenge. It's a big challenge, especially if you're someone who has a lot of emotional reactions to things naturally. It's not easy to kind of go, wow, I'm someone who's a real stress head in confrontations, or I'm someone who really runs away from anything that feels like it's going to take time or hard work, or I'm very impatient. I really find that I avoid a lot of situations that potentially could be good for me because I'm really impatient and I'm scared of failing. So when we can start to identify the way we are and think, well, actually, I would like to make changes in my life where I feel I have more control. Being honest is the best way to start. Now, the thing about being honest with yourself is we don't see everything about ourselves. We are looking through life through this camera, which is our own perspective. The experiences of other people, of us, can be very, very different. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we've got a few people telling us, you know what, you look like you're really lazy. And you're thinking, wow, I don't feel like I'm lazy. I feel like I'm trying to do lots of different stuff here, and I don't know, I don't think I'm lazy, but maybe there's something in my behavior that's giving the impression that I'm lazy. Maybe I'm not lazy. Maybe I'm just afraid of failure, Maybe I just don't want to go on and do study because I think that, I'm worried that I'm not going to be good enough, smart enough, I'm not going to choose the right course, that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff that can come up for us when we start actually trying to find out who we are and how we are and what we actually do reactionary in the world. But it's a really healthy way of making changes. Start finding out what it is you do, how you react, and then being able to go, well, actually, I really think it's well within my best interest to get on with my boss. I don't see eye to eye to him. I think he's a bit of a dill, maybe, or maybe you just think he just can't see the wood for the trees. Maybe he's not in the right job as far as you're concerned. But rather than fight with him, which is what you normally do because you kind of clash heads, maybe one of the things that you could choose to do is be a listener. Listen to his things. Just listen. You might find then, even though you'd like to say a lot of stuff, you might find that his response to you being an ear is actually a really good one that leads to possibly better situations for you, more opportunity perhaps. Perhaps you might go, you're a really good listener. Maybe you should come with me and when I go to this meeting and maybe if you just sit there and listen, because you're a really good listener, maybe you can pick up on some of this stuff that's going on and we can, get a better, situation for all of us who work on the third floor. You never know what happens, but you can try different things and see what works. Now, all of us have stuff that goes on that makes us really reactionary. All of us have flaws, if you like, or we just have characteristics that make us reactionary. But if we choose to be responsive, we can actually influence those things in our lives that are happening all around us, in our relationships, at work, and stuff that really can help with anything that we choose to do and can open doors for us as well. And that's a pretty good thing. All right, so tips for self-improvement. Being aware of everything. You kind of can do it if you think about yourself being an observer, as if you're being a movie camera, just watching and observing what's going on. Sometimes if you find yourself in a situation where you're really reacting in a certain way, how about you try and observe you doing that? Becoming aware that, wow, yeah, I do that. And that's really making that situation with that person really challenging, or wow, I do really avoid those situations or that. And yet I actually would like to do certain things and, finding that honesty, being aware of what's going on. Sometimes when we start being aware of stuff, not just about ourselves and our own reactions to things, but also the world around us, we start to see things that we didn't realize were there. We sometimes start to see more opportunities for ourselves, maybe opportunities for other people that we really care about as well. If you start becoming aware and observe things, sometimes everything becomes clear. Directions start becoming pretty obvious, and we can then move forward, which is generally what people want to do. Another tip is thinking about good feelings. Things that make you feel good, staying positive. If you can focus on those things, what keeps me positive, what helps me stay focused, it can really help you in your own development of a positive, focused, and responsive, as opposed to reactionary, experience in life. So positivity is, at its very nature, an awareness that we have. When we're positive, we seem to be really open to information. We seem to be thinking about stuff a little bit differently, perhaps allowing our observations to be bigger than when we're reactionary, which is quite often a closed kind of experience that we have, sort of tunnel vision. So being positive can have great things. And of course, it makes us feel good, and that's really important. We want to feel good in life. We want to have a positive experience. Something else that you can do is to try new things, trying different ways of observing, different kinds of responses, trying new things, seeing what works, what kinds of things make you feel like you're actually making improvements in your life. So this is about developing the self after all. This is about ourselves. If we want to change our lives, the first place to look is within. We need to focus on that side of ourselves. Trying new things can often give us a different perspective, a different experience than what we would say normally be drawn to. So trying new things can be really helpful in changing the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves too. Put ourselves in different situations and different circumstances where we may not be familiar with, and then we can observe the way we react and try out new responses, choosing ways to interact with the world and to interact with the experience. Getting knowledge from others. Knowledge and wisdom, so important. There's lots of people out there who I'm sure are like-minded, like you. We're all very different, and there's lots and lots of different people out there who you may connect with, who may have wisdom and guidance and maybe mentoring that they can give you and offer you to move you forward. There's plenty of videos like this kind of video, lots of books to read. If you're not a reader, you can maybe go to some talks. There's plenty of stuff. There's TED Talks as well. There's so much information there about different ways that you can experience and learn through somebody else's knowledge and wisdom that they have accumulated. And sometimes it can be a cultural thing too, maybe look close to home. You might have an older person, a grandparent, colleagues, other people around you who may have experienced certain things. Maybe you can talk to them and find out what they've done in their life to improve their lot in life. The most important tip of all out of any of this, though, is to be patient. We have to be patient with ourselves. Self-improvement doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and it takes small steps along the way. You think about, walking 1,000 miles. We have to start with a single step, which leads to another, which leads to another and another. Being patient with ourselves can be a challenge in itself, particularly if we're the kind of people who maybe give up easily, or we're the kind of people who have high expectations of ourselves. The fact is that we have to teach ourselves and our brains new ways of actually dealing with the world and interacting with the world. It's kind of like reprogramming a computer. We have to reprogram ourselves and our brains, which then can help us experience things in a different way. And it starts off with the small things. It's helpful sometimes to give yourselves messages of patience. Focus on patience. Remind yourself. Leave little notes around perhaps so you can remind yourself it's okay, one step at a time. Patience is the key. Every good thing takes time. Patience, very important. Perhaps the most important ingredient of all. So, is it worth making the change and actually going and trying to do some self-improvement? Well, I think so. I know for myself, I'd like to keep on improving my experience of life, because I really like to have an enriching experience in life where I feel like I'm maximizing its potential and maximizing my own potential. So is it worth it? I think there's a lot that people can gain out of actually putting the time and effort into it. Factors, remember, that do influence how we are include our upbringing, our environments that we've experienced, the experiences in life that we have accumulated, and the knowledge and wisdom that's come from having those experiences. Tips for self-improvement. Be aware. First and foremost, be aware. Focus on positive and good feelings. try new things. Get some knowledge and some wisdom from other people around you as well, and be patient with yourself. Very, very important. Okay, that's it from me. That's all I have for now. Please share this video if you feel it's going to help somebody, and like and subscribe if you'd like to be made aware of the next episodes in this series of mindful change. I'm finished for now. Thanks for watching and take care of yourself.
There's a way.